Fuck's sake, a little bit at the end.
Welcome to the Hat Chat
Good one.
Podcast, episode 43, with your hosts,
It is, yeah.
Chris Trott.
Ross Hornby.
And me, Alan Smoothbrain.
Perfect.
Smooth
Smooth brain, Alex.
We're all smooth brains. That's what
We're all
people listen
smooth
to us
brains,
for,
yeah.
right?
Are you
But
a
who did
smooth
that
brain?
fingle? Which smooth brain did the fingle?
That smooth brain is known by Josh Cook. Classic smooth brain
nice.
name. Josh
That's
Cook.
Classic.
very smooth brain.
Thank you, Josh.
Such a smooth brain.
Lovely fingle. It's even longer, so look forward to that at the end of the podcast.
Oh,
there's a whole
really
song.
nice. Good.
So that's that.
I like
Thank
that.
you to all smooth brains out there.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Welcome. How are you doing? Are you surviving? Are you in a second lockdown? We are. Hello.
Yes.
We are.
So, since the last podcast, we've gone into lockdown. Even though they promised not to. Weird, that, isn't it? But seems like they listen to science eventually, which is good. A good thing.
Indeed.
So we're in a temporary lockdown for 4 weeks. They say 2nd December it will unlock. But who fucking knows?
Unlock
Let's be
the
honest.
country.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
you'll
be
be all
honest.
right
No one knows.
when you Ross, because like being on the surface of the sun where you are right now,
Yeah.
no virus can survive. I'm guessing.
No, it dies immediately, which is fantastic. But it does offer burning for the very pale skin that I have. He's talking about my camera. Basically, for anyone listening, my camera is gone to shit. I've got
downgraded.
a webcam, and it's just wants to do its own thing. So I'm glowing.
I like how like
Literally
a
glowing.
couple of weeks ago you had 3 cameras set up and you could cut between each of them, all of which were on your desk. So it was like a very it was like a
Two cameras,
newsreader
yeah, but like
style.
How
yeah,
far you
I had a
fallen?
setup.
Yeah,
And
and
now
now
the
you're
GH5 has
back
been put to one
too.
side. Technology let me down,
Hilarious.
and I don't want to spend silly money buying a new one yet. So we'll see.
Just want.
So that's my
Ideally,
situation.
just want Elgato Custom Service to reply to you. That's all you want, really.
I mean, it's surely
Simple,
inside
a
warranty.
simple RMA request. It's in the warranty. Something fucked
Yeah.
up. I just want them to contact me back. Please, Elgato, if you're listening. We actually do streams and stuff. We get reasonable numbers. Can you just send me one if that's going to just make it easier, please? For God's sake, I look like I'm burning in the sun right now. I'm
Silence
not
our
gaming
rage
because I'm still going to be pale.
by sponsoring us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Help
us out.
Thank you.
moisturising a little bit here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you got
Yes.
some
Sorry,
moisture. He's moisturising.
I need
Getting
to
some.
moisturise
Okay.
a little bit because my
you
forehead
have a-
looks worse than it is on camera.
What's your morning routine?
Just a bit dry.
Yeah, I was going to say, from
It's
the
not
way
really
you've
a
applied
routine.
that, it looks like you have a routine.
So really,
Just
Well,
literally
just
clumsily.
I'm
fingering
wiping
his
it up,
head.
Like what? How else would you apply it? I just wipe.
Well, I don't know.
moisturiser.
Just it looked very just clumsy the way you'd.
Um, so basically, my routine is my skin is fine until I eat some chocolate, and then it goes to shit for 3 days. And I spend a week and a half trying to get it back to not being awful. And then I eat some more chocolate. And
Then
that's
you
it. That's
find
my-
the other bar.
So
Shit, more chocolate. Yes.
Such a smooth
I've
brain.
got a few.
Such smooth brain action.
I've got a few like bottles of like stuff on my desk here, right? Not those.
Oh,
not,
nice,
not
okay.
lube, obviously.
Beauty
But,
guru Alex Smith.
Why not?
Please
Big
don't full screen
insights.
me. Not when I'm looking so like
All
red.
right, I'll bring it back.
and
I'll bring it back.
Anyway, I have some moisturizer here that I occasionally use for like bits and bobs, you know. And then I also for a little while had like a screen cleaner and like a general like you know like degreaser for like electrical things and stuff like that because.
So you start
you know,
using it on
you-
your skin.
So no, I did the other thing. I wanted to clean a mouse I was using because it got quite greasy because I was eating some like potato chips, and you know the classic like you're using a mouse, you're reaching in
Very
with
American.
your right hand to the bag, you know, like that kind of thing. And so I was like, right, I want to get rid of the grease on this mouse, and so I grabbed the bottle, squirted on the mouse, and I just literally just fucking fired a whole load of moisturizer on my mouse. It was the wrong bottle, and I just squirted, just literally this is moisturizer, just went, and just a huge stream of moisturizer just goes all over.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm like,
one of the worst
I
things
got
you
it
can
in
put on
amongst
your
the
mouth.
wheel. I got the thing in the. I got it like moisturizer in
not
amongst
the
the
wheel.
mouse wheel and everything, and I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ! I just squirted moisturizer into the mechanical part of my mouse. Like, God damn it! Like,
What's
and
your,
so, yeah.
Smooth brain. Smooth brain.
Yeah.
What's your DPI nowadays, though? Now with that moisturizer on.
Oh, nowadays it spins like a treat, but it literally won't stop. It's
Oh,
the wheel doesn't stop. Like
Like
I come in
Grease
sometimes,
Lightning.
and it's just there.
You can
It's
scroll
so
to the
lubed,
bottom,
it's
the
unbelievable.
very, very bottom of Reddit, to the very first post
Yeah.
in 1 second.
Fucking
Spins.
hell.
Free wheels.
Imagine if that was a way of like measuring processing power or something like that. Like, how quickly
my
can you get to
God.
the bottom of Reddit? That's
That's
it.
also a
Yeah,
test
right.
of your
Temperatures.
internet and Reddit servers as well.
Yeah,
It
the
is
load
drop.
speed of
That's
pages.
true.
It's a lot of variables playing. At
I've got
play
it all
there.
cached.
Yeah.
Have you not got it cached?
Oh well.
Well, it depends. Unless it's the film Lucy, where she uses 3 regular laptops at like lightning speed, because somehow that. Sorry, I went on a Lucy tirade again because I hate that film.
I
I
still haven't
watched
seen
it
it. It's
a
just,
few weeks ago. No, there's a part at the end. So basically, she like it's kind of like what's that film with what's his name? Bradley Cooper. Limitless.
Limitless.
I think
Limitless,
it's kind
yeah.
of like Limitless. It's got
God, I
Scarlett
love that
Johansson
film.
in it. But there were like, and it's ridiculous. It basically, I mean, obviously, all these kind of films are fucking ridiculous. You should never really take them so seriously. But it's always fun to just be like, that would never happen. But yeah, there's a point at the end where she's like, basically using these computers with her mind, and yeah, the thing that annoyed me was just that they would never run that fast anyway. So yeah, there you go. There's me being pedantic for films. So there you go.
So Limitless, like after I watched that film, this is Lucy. He's showing on the web. So basically, she gets used as a drug mule for some drugs that make you really, really smart, but they accidentally break inside her after they've stitched them into her, and she receives the power of whatever these drugs do, which apparently make you use 100% of your brain rather than the 3% we actually use, the old stat that's thrown around.
The old myth.
Incorrect. Yeah. So anyway. It's kind of garbage, and what makes it worse is what Ross is talking about is like the storyline is just so unbelievable, and like there's no suspension of disbelief possible, you know, like
Oh,
as
that was
in,
it. In the trailer, don't they say that you don't use 100% of your brain or whatever?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
like, just also bullshit. But yeah, like.
But anyway,
I
this
don't
film's terrible. Limitless, I felt was a better film, partly because it was an original
Yes.
idea,
Yeah.
and also because of the sort of concept they would use with it. They sort of did it like they're very smart now, and so how would hyper intelligence help a person who was trying to succeed? And so like I think he got very rich in the stock market or something like that, and it allowed him to fund this crazy life, and then but it was all about getting more of this tablet, or he had this supply. But anyway, either way, this always, whenever I watched this film, I watched it a couple of times. Afterwards, I'd always go down the rabbit hole of researching nootropics, right? Which is
medicines that could work.
Yeah, what makes you like operate better? What makes you, focus better, and all this sort of stuff, right? And that's known as a nootropic. Basically, a nootropic is a drug that improves your mental capacity in some way. So an example of an existing nootropic would be something like caffeine. So caffeine is considered a nootropic. Interestingly, so is also nicotine, right? So both of these things are considered stimulants to help you process faster mentally. Another sort of example of perhaps not just a pure nootropic, but a substance that's been used famously by many armies, methamphetamine. So methamphetamine allows you to stay awake and focus for a very long time. The downside is usually something called sleep debt. Which is basically if you don't sleep for 3 days, you're going to have to pay the piper at some point. So the holy grail of a true nootropic is one that doesn't have a downside. So, for example, it doesn't have a sleep debt, any of that sort of stuff. But anyway, there's not really much like this in existence, unfortunately. And if it does exist, it's being kept very secret. But imagine what you could do. Like, I think it's quite an exciting thing because for us, we understand the idea of intelligence, but we don't really. So it doesn't seem like a superpower to us to be hyper intelligent. So it almost seems like it's within reach, So, like, what would you do with hyper intelligence? I think most people would solve the money issue first, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but it's because it isn't Elon, well, a company Elon owns or whatever is working on something similar. not necessarily to give you superpowers or super intelligence, but basically to modify you so you have certain attributes that are highlighted or slightly better through brain function. And they're testing it now on pigs. I can't remember what happened in that video now because there was a video of him testing it with some pigs, which was quite interesting. But the most fascinating thing is talking about smooth brains and brains in general. Is just how they can figure out what the fuck is going on with the thing, like how they can stick a rod in a certain point and that's going to solve an issue, or that's going to be like register a reading on a digital device. That is the most interesting and fascinating thing that I'm very interested in seeing in the coming years as they get better and better at doing it.
It's less a rod, isn't it? It's more like detecting electrical current at certain portions of the brain, which we've known that by doing experiments in the past, these light up when you do certain actions or have emotive responses to certain things. So we've basically made a deduction as microscopic as we can as to this part of the brain we think is cognizance and this one is emotion and blah blah blah. So that's what we're theorizing, I assume. But down to the nitty-gritty individual neurons, that's difficult, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. We for a long time we've been able to stimulate parts of the brains to create reactions. Like for example, there's a very famous piece of technology that's similar to a pacemaker, which is used for things like Parkinson's, which will essentially stimulate the part of the brain responsible for minor motor movements and things like that, which is what people with Parkinson's often struggle with. And that's why they get the shakes, because that part of their brain isn't functioning properly. So they get almost like imagine it's like an electrical system, and it is. And you're getting like dodgy signal coming through that causes the shakes. It's basically false signals or like mess on the sort of messy signal on the line. By putting the pacemaker in, it causes those electrical signals to become more stable, I suppose you would call it, and then it allows more of that control of the finer signals being sent to allow the user to use their hands once again.
I've seen multiple videos where people are like they show it for the first time, like turn it on, and then you see them shaking. Or if it's Parkinson's, for example, they just suddenly the shakes just turn to nothing and then they start eating their soup again. It's crazy.
But exactly. So with that, we're essentially stimulating a part of the brain, an area that's known to have control over that. But like you say, the really refined stuff, the stuff where we can focus and stimulate and manipulate individual neurons and things like that, is a lot more complicated than essentially running a current through a certain part of the brain. But it would be awesome. I think it's really exciting.
So do it for hearing, right? As well.
Huh?
You can bring back people you can enhance hearing for the hard of hearing. Yeah, and they have that little like a plug at the back, which I guess they access.
So that's that stimulating the
cochlear implant,
nerve.
Is it, or is that something else?
Cochlear implant. Yeah, the thing is with that though is it does change your hearing. It doesn't use your hearing in the same way. So people that use those can hear and interpret signals, but it doesn't just give you your hearing back. Unfortunately, what it does is it changes the way that you hear. So you'll hear a slightly different. It's almost like the things they hear are like electrical sounds that they can still make out as words and sounds, but it's not like, unfortunately, like our hearing.
It's like reprocessed via other means.
Right.
Yeah, and then sent through the nerve. But yeah, for sure. Let's hope. The thing is, like with science and especially medical science, is that ethics is a really complex river to navigate. Like, stem cell research has been held up for years and years and years because of things like pro-life movements and stuff like that. It's when you throw ethics out the window, medicine can sort of advance at a crazy pace. Something that might take 40 years but could take a couple of years. Not because of. I mean, you can't throw ethics out the window, obviously, because then you just you're monster. You're Nazi.
Why not,
doctors essentially?
It's so I
mean, whoever made the MRI machine, do you think they wanted to just get in it and just be like, just explore, go crazy, look into my brain, find everything you can.
Yeah.
Specifically, find the very specific button that gives you orgasms and press it loads and see what happens. Imagine that. Like, that would be ridiculous.
Spin this big old fucking magnet around me, get me aroused.
I'm going to stick this rod here. Oh my God! Jesus!
The wrong one. It's the wrong one. I can't see.
Oh fuck! Too far.
Talking of remapping the brain down to the neuron, though, have you guys seen recently that psilocybin has cropped up again as a therapeutic treatment? Suggesting from newatlas.com, I saw this article that in their health and well-being category, that it's 4 times more effective than antidepressants as a general.
With associated therapy, I presume.
Yeah, it says psilocybin
I imagine.
therapy.
Yeah, you're not just going to bosh a load of shrooms. Therapy.
Do not take psilocybin exactly without proper consideration, because it can really.
But meth, totally fine.
Yeah.
So,
but you can't find meth in the woods, so there's the other difference. So you could very much find psilocybin just sitting down there, just next to a tree. Go, oh, hello.
I've been getting really into my like plant and herb lore over the last like couple of months, and like trying to learn a lot more about plants and what they look like and how they grow
for reasons of them, right?
For reasons that like loads. I mean, it'd be useful to be able to identify things like that, just in case I want to poison myself.
Learn your morals.
So psilocybin's really interesting because, from what I've read about its description and from what I've experienced, it's a really interesting process. So what it does is it essentially opens the door to your brain's, I guess, biases and conceptions, like preconceived conceptions in a way, because it essentially, I think, allows you to sort of mess with your notions of things. So you know how like as you get older and as you grow, your sort of your perception of things cements itself, right? So you tend to hold certain beliefs. It's a measurable thing that as you progress, as you get older, going from your teens to your 20s to your 30s, your way of thinking and indeed your brain waves and your patterns in your mind tend to sort of not cement themselves, but sort of settle down,
Well, they continue to tread the same path because it's the path of least resistance, right? Rather than carve new nuances.
And it's a rule set that makes sense to you, I think, as an individual, like seeing the world as a human being. Like it's a rule set and a series of, usually a series of morals, usually a series of ethics, and of understanding that you go, I'm okay, I'm happy with the world how this is and how I see it, and that keeps most people sane. But I think with taking things like psilocybin, it can sort of open up that door again for you to assess what the world is, how it impacts you, and how you feel about it. And I think that's why with it and with therapy, you can help to, get through things like depression and anxiety and stuff, because I think a lot of those conditions are a product of how you feel about yourself and how you feel about the world that you live in. Like, I think that's a lot of the root of anxiety and depression, like in my experience, is if I can change the way that I perceive a certain thing, that will help me feel entirely differently about it, and that in a way is, and so this drug is essentially a way to open that door, and now let's rewrite some rules. It's almost like when you write the story of your mind, you then sort of laminate it. And it's hard to make adjustments to it, and you can write over the top of that lamination. You can change those thoughts and things, but deep down it's hard to change that core writing on that page. But with something like psilocybin, you can peel away that lamination and rewrite and rejig what's underneath. And
that's a very good way of putting it. It kind of a physical representation of like how we follow the same habits and patterns. It's literally habits. Those things that you're trying to like kick all the time, the diets you're trying to set yourself, and how hard it is to get off that and not reset straight back to bad eating again. That's basically like everything happening in your brain follows that same trend, right? Like the way you think about things, your opinions on certain people, really hard to change that with a fundamental shift in your perspective. Really hard to do. So
yeah, it is
having a tool to,
and
like,
that's
help.
why people going through like mental breaks, or people in really bad places in their lives in terms of how they feel, they often make big changes, to try and some, I've got a couple of friends who were like really miserable in their like lives or in their jobs or whatever. Like when I say like really miserable, they're still getting on, but like they were really quite unhappy, and they started to do strange things, like slightly out of character things. And then they made these big changes in their lives, and it has genuinely made a huge difference. And I think that was because that big change allowed them to, like you say, address that thing, and if you change the way you either observe it or live around those things, and that have a big impact on your life, then you can change the way you feel. Because I mean, it's hard to step out of your bubble sometimes, right? Like in terms of how you see the world, really, it's quite hard to change that.
Yeah,
I would say that I think the media, films and whatever, make it look a lot more over the top for a good reason, because it's a film, or TV shows and stuff. They're just like, oh my god, I saw these colors and frogs and stuff. It's like, Like, so which can also make it seem scary and stuff, but ultimately I think it's it's a good thing they're testing these things now, and there's actually like a way that you can accurately get a proper reading from what these things are doing, rather than just let's hit it and see what happens.
Proper
but yeah, I just find it
study. It's important.
Yeah, definitely, exactly, and also understanding in general, understanding about anything puts you at ease. But have you tried it?
No.
It's alright.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't have very much of it. I think I've told a lot of people about this, but have I not told you about my story when I was in Amsterdam and I had some truffles? Did I tell anyone? Have I told anyone publicly about it though? Because it's quite funny.
I think so. I don't think so. Maybe you have.
Okay. I mean, this is a bad example of how to take psilocybin, though. Like, this isn't.
This is the thing. Is it going to reinforce the thing I said about like crazy, like over the top, kind of the way people perceive it in the media?
Well, maybe they will. Maybe
or is it more played down? Because I found it to be hilarious, but yeah, different strokes.
I think the thing is, right, I would love to do like either like an ayahuasca ceremony or something along those lines that's truly immersive and truly truly legitimate, you know, because I think for me, I don't want to just like, you know, because I genuinely do believe that it has some capability to help people like mentally. And I don't almost want to cheapen like that by sort of going like, but you know, I genuinely want to see, like when I see videos and documents about these studies that have been done. And another one is with MDMA as well. Is MDMA is used at the moment to treat. It's been tried to treat soldiers with PTSD, and MDMA is another drug probably a lot of people have heard of. Probably is Molly or Mandy, and essentially it can help with togetherness and all this other stuff. Like, again, it has an effect on your brain, which makes you feel certain things. Is what drugs do. But like, yeah, that, you know, but it's not just enough to go like, oh, I've got PTSD, I'm gonna go clubbing tonight, take some MDMA and cure it. You know, that's not enough. Yeah. Like these studies are like with people that are like, right, let's work through why you're feeling like this. How do you feel? Like, what was happening in the moment? Like, you know, and these are professional people that understand like behavior and some elements of the mind and things like that allow a person to then use those drugs as a pedestal, just like drugs are used in other things. So for example, when with depression, something called SSRIs or antidepressants are used, and they won't cure depression. They won't, you know, they can help with symptoms of it, you know, like you won't feel as bad, but you won't just take them for a couple of months and then bam, it's gone. They're used as a stepping stone to get you to a place where you want to be. You know, they're like a band-aid on why the swimming pool is leaking. They're not, you know, they're not the reason that they're not going to fix it. They're not a new swimming pool. They're sort of a band-aid that you put on the leak, and then you work out, right, why did that leak start in the first place? Like that's the idea, right?
Is it a good analogy to use that these sorts of things essentially crack open the egg of your brain, and then it's up to the people around you and the guidance to make sure nothing bad seeps into that egg while it's open? So
I think, in terms of the other drugs we were talking about, not antidepressants, but yeah, for sure. Like what you're talking about with psilocybin and therapeutics.
Anything hallucinogenic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You need to be careful.
I'll point out setting is the most important thing in terms of. I was playing Settlers of Catan at the time, and that was that was
fucking great.
Was fine.
I mean, the geometric shapes.
I'll tell you what, we never fucking finished the game, but we spent maybe 45 minutes just trying to piece it together. Like we were just laughing so much because we were just like, wait, this piece should go here because obviously it's like a hexagon, whatever, and it's just like I don't know. It was really funny, and it was a very funny experience. But those ones were just picked locally. Like they weren't anything purchased.
That's the thing. Like
all natural. That's the thing. So there is a risk there in that factor.
Totally unregulated.
If anything, if it was fully regulated, then you know exactly what you're getting, don't you? But
yeah, true. But then it's like there's been no guidance or research, or you don't know, you haven't looked at like a breakdown of like how strong this mushroom is, like what effects it's going to have on you, how much to even take for you personally. Go on, Smith, please tell us your story.
He was in Amsterdam, wasn't
Let me tell you about my story taking some truffles, which are essentially in Amsterdam. Mushrooms you used to be able to buy magic mushrooms. Then they changed the law, and now the way they get around it is truffles, which are essentially the mushroom before it breaks the top of the soil. So truffles are basically fungus that grows under the ground. So yeah, there's certain breeds of magic mushroom or species, I presume, that means that you can grow them underground and they still have the presence of psilocybin. Anyway. I was going somewhere. I'm going to keep this as well, it's not incriminating, but like, I don't know whether other people want me to share it. So like, I was with two other people, close friends. And essentially one of them was like, oh, I'd really like to try some truffles. And I was like, okay. Like I've, got quite a distant relationship with anxiety. So I was a bit like, that's basically, growing up as a sort of young teenager. And I was like, well, I'm a lot better these days. Like I haven't had any of those problems, because that is something to consider. If you've had mental health problems and things like that, taking psychedelics can sometimes be a bad idea.
Bring it to the forefront, yeah.
Or at least, a bad idea in the wrong setting. Anyway, so he was like, oh, yeah, we'll go and buy some. And I was like, okay, great. Yeah, sure, no problem. So we check into the Airbnb that we're staying in Amsterdam for 2 nights. And it's a really, really lovely, like Amsterdam, like building, like house, like really fucking narrow staircase, of course. But like the rest of the building is really lovely, high ceilings. And it's recently been refurbished, we were told. And we got in there and it was nice, but everything was white. Like everything was white. They painted like the fucking banisters, the skirting board, the ceiling, the wall, all the fucking table and chairs. Like it was like an IKEA
sci-fi.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
When you see IKEA post like a white room and then like with the odd little bit of accented color, like it was like that. And it was like at the time I was like, oh, this is very white, but I like it. It's a nice colored white. And so we dumped all our stuff in there, and there was a couple of bedrooms. Like there was a long hallway with a bedroom in the back, and then halfway down the hallway to the right there was another bedroom. Then there was like a sofa bed or something like that, and a kitchen and living room combined. And anyway, so I went and bought some straight like blunts, right? So like roll wraps of weed that are just like straight weed, like no tobacco, because like in the UK and also in Amsterdam you can often find like pre-rolls that are like mixed tobacco and weed, and I don't like that. I think it completely ruins the experience of it. Like so anyway, I bought some straight ones, which obviously is quite strong. Usually with a straight thing like that you would usually share it, right? And so I bought 5 of those for me and 2 other guys. And normally, yeah, it depends. Like I was with some people like, that hadn't, smoked a lot of weed recently or anything like that.
Why
so
5?
Like they were, because it was it was like a pack of 5 pre-rolls. Because we were there for 2 days, and so I was like, I'll buy 5 of these, and we'll share one every so often, and
not just for that evening. Right.
No.
It's also there's also a when in Rome scenario when like,
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
I can
exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'll have that.
So yeah, we had those, and then we got these. We went to this other shop, and my friend was like, I'm going to slip in a minute and say somebody's name, I'm sure. My friend was like, right, let's go to this shop. And so we go in, and it's like a fucking dodgy ass shop. It's got like all the usual Amsterdam garbage you get when you go into one of the cheaper shops there, where like sex toys, and then fucking like bongs, and then like horrible novelty t-shirts and calendars and all that garbage, and you're like, oh Christ, am I really gonna buy some fucking psychedelics? Is this the beginning of my psychedelic journey? Is this fucking place? Anyway, I go up, and the guy's got like tubs, and they come in these like, imagine like a tub that you'd get like fucking sour cream in or something like that, no, that's not even a good example. Little tubs, like little circular plastic tubs, and
some takeaways.
I know petri dishes in some places.
Yeah, that sort of size.
Clear.
And so these truffles look like little round little knobs of like browny white like nuts. They look like small hazelnuts or something, right? But kind of more gross. They're not a very nice looking thing. They taste even worse. Anyway, so there's like a board behind the counter of this, and this guy is like a real ropey dude, like like sort of thing. Obviously he's Dutch, but to me he reminds me of somebody from like the countryside where I live. And he's got like the dolphin, the something else, the peacock shower, and like they've got these like weird names and like usually very like colorful or like something names, right? And he's like, right, we've got different strengths. There's like 1 to 5. This one's more visual. This one's more like euphoric. This one's this. This one's that. And I'm like, right, can I get a medium strength, colorful, kind of like I'd like some visuals and things like that? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, I want to take care of these 2 other people with me because I think I'm probably a more experienced drug taker than the 2 other people I'm with. And so I'm like, all right, how long is this meant to last? How long does it take to kick in? And the guy's like, could be up to 2 hours. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that. 2 hours sounds about right. And he's like, and then it should last like 3-4 hours at most. And by this time it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon when we've decided to go and get these. And I'm like, right, 3 to 4 hours, bam, no worries. I'll understand that. I know exactly, I can basically, help the other people. If they sketch out, I can sort of tell them like, it's okay. It's only a few hours, you'll be all right, all that sort of stuff. And anyway, we get back, and it's by this time we've wandered around Amsterdam for a few hours. Get back, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I mean, I'm interested. I've never tried psychedelics at this point, so I'm like, oh no, I do want to try this. I've now bought them. I'm sort of on board with it. I'm like, right, let's try this out. And so I asked the other 2, who are now looking a bit more sheepish. Now we've actually got the product in our hand. We got these 3 bloody tubs of like, it's a fair old bit. Like, here's a bag of nuts, but like, you have to eat. Imagine eating sort of half a bag of these nuts right now. That's kind of the quantity you have to get through eating, right? Of these things that taste like cat piss.
Yeah,
right. It tastes like cat piss. It tastes like licking a battery. It's like the most.
I would say, yeah, you want to mix it in with like, we had like a chicken and mushroom like pot noodles type thing, because that's easy.
Just to get rid of the fucking taste, because it's horrible. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, right, guys, let's try them. Let's do it. Let's take them. And so like we sit down at the table, and I've got this big old pile of fucking hallucinogenic truffles I've got to eat, right? And I start with one, and I'm the first person to try one, and I'm like, that's horrible. And then one of the 2 other guys are like, right, better start as well. So they start fucking like taking like eating these things, and I'm like, it's awful. Like, it literally is like pissy.
Well, it just ground up
vinegary
dirt, isn't it?
Nut flavor. Ugh, it's horrible. And I finally get all these things down, and I'm like, oh, that was really grim. That was really bad. And and about an hour and a half go by, and nothing's happened.
Still picking out your teeth. Okay, now.
Yeah. And you're like, hour and a half go by. We're all sort of sat around waiting for these things to happen, and I'm like timing it on my phone, like that kind of thing, to like make sure I'm keeping track of things, because it's all very well saying you're going to keep track of something.
Where did you go? Where did you go from
we're just in the flat, in that super white flat at the moment. Right, so we're sat around watching Dutch like daytime TV on this television, waiting, because I'm like, guys, I don't think we should go anywhere just in case these are really strong and like, one of us becomes really uncomfortable. I think we should wait for them to start to kick in, get comfortable, and then maybe, go out and see some things in Amsterdam, right? And so we're sat around this like bright white fucking room and watching this daytime television, and I'm like, this isn't working, guys. It's about an hour and 45 in. I'm like, I feel nothing. Is anyone else feeling nothing? No. One of my friends is like, I feel a bit fucking
almost
sick,
2
actually.
hours? Fucking hell.
Yeah, almost 2 hours, right? And we hadn't eaten anything at the moment. So like, anyway, I was like, right, I don't think this is happening. Do you guys just want to like smoke one of these joints and go for a walk? And so I get one of the blunts out.
Combo.
And we go out into the garden of this Airbnb. And like, I light this thing up, and I'm like, having a go on it, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. This is really nice. Like I immediately feel it. It's like I think it was like White Widow or something we were smoking. It's like it's nice, like reasonably strong, but nothing that's gonna like, couch lock you or anything like that. Anyway, so I start passing this round, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's nice. I can feel that and everything. I pass it to one of my friends, and I pass it to another one of my friends who's Dutch, right? And he's never smoked weed before. And he's like, oh, holy shit, guys. I've had a few like tokes on this now, and I don't feel anything. And I'm like, really? And I take it back, and I'm like, I mean, I've smoked weed before, and I can definitely feel this. And he's like, no. Let me have a bit more. And so I give it back to him, and he starts smoking on it. And he's like, holy shit, guys, I think I might be immune. And I'm like, dude, you're not immune. Like, he does the classic thing, like so many first times like stoners said this, like, I think I might be immune, and I'm like, dude, the amount of people I've heard say they might be immune, and the amount of people that totally aren't fucking immune. No. Anyway, needless to say, about 30 minutes later, both the joint we've just smoked and the truffles we've eaten kick in hard. Okay, and my Dutch friends learned that he is neither immune to weed nor hallucinogenic truffles. And I'm sat in the living room at this point, whilst one of my friends who's got the stomach ache has gone to sit in his bed, like, because he's like, oh, my stomach feels really gross. And I'm in the living room about half an hour later watching this terrible television, and I'm like, I look up at the wall and I'm like, now I don't remember these walls having red diamonds all over them. And I'm like, did I maybe miss this? So I get right up to the edge of the wall, and I can literally see, like I felt reasonably sober. I mean, I didn't feel sober, like I wouldn't have driven a car. And I get up to the wall, and I'm like right up looking at the wall, and I'm like, somebody has drawn red diamonds on all over this wall. Like that's like, you know, that just, to me, that just looked like it was there. Like it literally looked like someone had taken a red pencil and just drawn like geometric diamonds all over the wall. And I'm like, well, this is definitely doing something. So I walk back down the hallway to see how my first friend is doing, who was in bed because he had a bit of a stomach ache, and he's there sat up against the wall with his feet out in front of him, just going, whoa, this is intense.
Oh my God.
Like, are you all right?
He's like, definitely magnified by the joint there.
And he's just like, this is fucking crazy. I'm like, you all right? Is your stomach all right and stuff? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it sucks, but like, this is nuts. So like, I'm all right. And I walk down to the other end to see my Dutch friend, who's like, again, just like laughing, looking at the ceiling, like lying on his bed, looking at like the canopy over his bed. Cause I think it had like a 4-poster bed or something. And, yeah. And so anyway, that went on for a little while, and they were all having fun. And I'm there like looking around, and I'm like, fuck, all I'm getting are these red fucking diamonds.
Honestly, I feel ripped off.
And I was just like, oh man, like, what the fuck? And every so often, right, this is quite a common thing with shrooms, are like, your mind wanders a lot, and like naturally, so you'll just be walking around feeling like fairly like all right, and then you'll just be like, I've just been looking at this piece of curtain for 20 minutes, and like it just happens, right? And every so often, like, I was trying to do it anyway because I was trying to be the responsible one, which is probably a mistake I made, because you're meant to relax with it and like go with the ride, but I was very much like, I need to make sure that everyone's okay. I had like the thing timing on my phone, so I sort of had a measure of time and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, right, we are 4 hours into our mushroom trip, and it's starting to get dark outside. And I'm like every so often just focusing in. So I'm like, right, if I try really hard, can I focus on what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, and I'd be like, yep, I'm okay. I can see everything. I know what's going on. I'd go around and check everyone, and then I'd just go and sit on the sofa and be angry at the walls for a little while. And anyway, I'm like, right, 2.5 hours that took to kick in. The guy said 3 to 4 hours. We bought these at 1 o'clock. It's now 8 p.m. and we're all still tripping balls. And I'm like, we are well over the allotted time for this. Like, it's like, I'm done now, and everyone else. I'm
there's fatigue.
You get exhausted by it, right? Yeah, you do.
This is too much. This is too long.
Exactly. So after about 6 or 7 hours of tripping, I talked to my two friends, and I'm like, guys, like, I'm pretty done with this now. Like, I want this to finish. And I was like, right, do you want to go to McDonald's? So just around the corner from Airbnb is a McDonald's.
God, and I'm like, maybe appetite. Fucking hell.
Well, we didn't, but I was like, maybe
I'm surprised you had an appetite.
It'll sober us up, right? That's like normally like the way to sober yourself up is like eat some stuff, drink some stuff, and it'll dilute essentially what's in your body. So, oh my God, me and one of the Dutch guy, my other friend stays back at the flat, and we try and go to McDonald's, and we get in there, and everything is so hyper, like, bright and real because of McDonald's. You know, it's already like loud, and when you're on
going anyway. Jesus Christ,
shrooms was just like, and I just looked up at the menu, and I was just overwhelmed by the choice, and I was just like. And I'm like, in my brain,
I'm like, choice there as well. They've got good options over there.
The Dutch have great McDonald's, and I was just like, get some. In my head, I was like, bring some food back for your friend who needs some food to eat. And I'm like, and they're like, can I help you? And I'm like, can I have a McFlurry? And I just walked out with 2 McFlurries, and that was all the food I got for 3 people. And I was just like, and I got back, and I'm like, sorry guys, I just couldn't do it. It was just too overwhelming, and all I had was just 2 McFlurries, and I'm like, does this count? And it was just like, I think I'm just gonna try and go to sleep, guys. And everyone else was just like, yeah, let's go to sleep. Guess what? Can't go to sleep.
No.
So there's this really, really not fun part of coming off of truffles, which your legs, the restless legs I got, were the worst fucking bit about it. And this is a really common thing of like constantly having to feel like you want to dance and you want to move your feet and your legs, and you feel like you have to tense them. You know, when you want to stretch, or when you've got like, say a leg has been a certain way for way too long and you get up and give it that really deep stretch, right? Imagine the feeling of needing to deep stretch like that constantly. That is restless legs on fucking truffles. Anyway, eventually, I don't know when, I think 3 a.m., 4 a.m., we all stopped tripping and finally went to fucking sleep.
Fucking hell. That's 12 hours.
And that was the last time I did hallucinogenics. I think anyone that day did hallucinogenics. And that's just an example of like a wasted opportunity, essentially, of like, you know, that's what will happen if you just try them and fuck around with them. And that's kind of why I want a therapist there, kind of like, right, let's go really strong with the dosage as well, because I don't think I had
recommend
enough.
board games. That was fun. I thought like doing a board game at the same time, that was good, because it was just like you had something to focus on, right? In the first place, all of you are focused on one thing. You're trying to first of all piece the board together, which took way too long. But then obviously learning the rules was the first time I played it, but it was a good game. We played it the next day absolutely fine. I think I won one of them, which was great.
Nice.
But yeah, no, setting is incredibly important, and also I know somebody who did that in a club, and they said it was the worst thing ever. I think they were in Amsterdam actually, and they said they took it in the club, and they were just like, not okay. That's not okay. They just ended up just like wanting to get the fuck out of there, but like completely just like everyone was like new faces like all over the place, like distractions everywhere, loud music. That's not the ideal situation for that, really. But
no,
he learned his lesson. He learned it a hard way. I think the same night, I think he ended up sleeping rough in Amsterdam because the place he didn't know where to go. He ended up sleeping over a steam grate type thing, along with a couple of other friends of mine who ended up just like being so deliriously like tired as well. Just like they were just there like holding their knees, just like trying to get a little bit of kip before like getting a train back the next day. And I think one of my other friends said he saw somebody's who also fell asleep like across the road with his like phone in his hand, and some guy just literally came up and just grabbed it and walked off. But this guy like was knocked out, and like he was just like he was so passed out and like cold that he could barely even move to even like want to obviously confront this guy. And this guy just woke up just like panicked, like trying to find his phone. It's just fucking awful. But like, my God, the situation you got to be in to like end up sleeping rough because you just didn't know where your hotel was.
I think for me, like, and what I've heard most about, like, from most people and most things I've read about, like, shrooms and things like that, is doing them in like in a big forest or in nature is always like the nicest way to do it. Like, it's like really, really sort of interesting, like in touch with the planet kind of feeling. And that sounds really cool.
Hallucinogenics and connectedness and like feeling you're part of a bigger thing is quite common, right? Tripping. What was that drugs thing on Netflix recently that had what's his face in from the police?
Sting.
The guy from the Sting. He was talking about his crazy fucking experiences.
I loved that show.
It was really good.
What was that called? That was a really good show where they just all talk about their trips, and it's like they all tell their stories, right? And they animate them in between. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, what
it's
the
a
hell
really
is that
good
called?
show.
Somebody...
But yeah, almost all of them were talking about like at some level they felt like this, because obviously they're talking about the harder acid trips and stuff like that. They're talking about acid. But like this connectedness, and I feel like you are just like an infinitesimally small part of everything, the universe. But that's also okay. Your whole self dissolves, the kind of thing, and apparently that's quite eye opening in a good way.
It's called Have a Good Trip: Adventures in Psychedelics.
That's right.
It's really, really worth a watch.
It is good.
It won't, it won't like sort of. It's more just about, like you say, the collective experiences of the people doing them and some of the similarities. But yeah, totally. And I think that'd be really interesting to try. I think that's the way to do it. Really. But what's also, I mean, if you look at the way that drugs work, a lot of drugs, it's understandable why people feel certain ways, right? Because there are certain hormones, certain neuroreceptors, certain all sorts of things in your brain that are responsible for certain feelings. So, for example, THC mimics, I think, a hormonal neuroreceptor called anandamide, I believe. And now how it works is when you smoke weed, you ingest THC, and then that goes into, there are receptors in your brain that are usually filled by this hormone, right? And so THC fills that receptor instead, and it produces that effect. It makes you feel a certain way. It's like it's called the joy molecule, I think it's called, the actual.
Well, Alex Smith, I wasn't feeling that much joy when we were in the middle of St. Patrick's Day, and I had an edible, and I couldn't move properly, and everything was swimming. It was not joyful at all.
Well, it depends if you just go with it. Edibles are a different beast. Like I know loads of people who have tried it and just said that's not for them. But they say it's very different from.
We were in the middle of a
from other methods
parade
of taking it
in America. And it was just so much green, and I felt like my body wasn't moving properly. It just hit me so hard, and fucking hell, like I could turn my head, and it felt like my actual brain caught up 10 seconds later. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's also more sleepy, I find. Like just edibles in general. So
the reason that an edible has a different effect to something like a flower or vaporizing it or something like that, is when you eat THC, it goes through your digestive system, which actually changes the nature of the compound. So THC is metabolized into a slightly different compound, which still gets you high, but it has a different effect. So it may be that your metabolism just changed it into this other thing that doesn't agree with you quite so much. So there is that's the reason that they are a different effect between edibles and like consuming it in other ways. But yeah, I can't remember. I think it goes from THC 7 to THC 9 or something like that. So it slightly changes the chemical structure.
It really depends on like if you ever make any yourself, you just need to kind of take a tiny amount and then just time it. And you literally just need to do an experiment of your own and then see. But yeah, what was it? Was it mints? Or what did we have on St. Patrick's Day? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I've got a box. Hold on, I'll get the box.
But yeah, like it was something. I can't remember what the form factor was, but basically, I think we just had probably just a little more than we needed. Because that taxi back home was just quite bizarre, actually. Yeah. And I just felt tired when I got back. Everyone just hadn't had a nap in the afternoon.
I was so
sunny
out of
and
it.
Weird.
I felt so wrong.
And that really like fancy place, that like really expensive looking,
that
grand
Airbnb
design style. Best Airbnb I've ever been to. It's so nice.
Amazing.
There.
So good, but I just couldn't concentrate on like us making food and stuff like that. It was just really hard. And because I had like it was half of a sweet as well. It wasn't even the whole thing. It was like, I'll be real careful and have like half of that. I was just like paranoid out of my fucking head. A breeze.
Oh yeah.
These were them, right?
Something similar. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Accidentally left the box in my jacket on a flight home one time. I literally was unpacking my bag, and I picked up the jacket, and I was like, "What's in this pocket?" And I looked, and I was just like, good job. Nobody saw that.
The thing is, it's in the form factor of mints. It's like kind of like, also it's not exactly like you're not exactly in a distributable kind of form factor.
I assume that's why they're designed that way.
Also, it does say cinnamon CBD on the top because it still had a content that was illegal in it.
Definitely had THC in it. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. It was like a 5 and 5, so CBD, THC, which is
right.
But yeah, anyway, those are fun, aren't they? Those little. I think those mints were great, actually. But yeah.
Only because
anyway,
just like a single mint was quite mild, but yeah.
Be careful. Be careful out there. Like my tolerance for it's so low.
Yeah, exactly. Like anything. Like anything you do, you want to do it in small measure first and test something out. Like if you ever think about doing it, and also don't be stupid with these things. Like that's why,
and no matter how tempting it is,
the way they are today.
One of the big rules, I think.
Oh yeah, don't go back for more.
With edibles, don't go back for more until you feel it working.
Yeah.
And second of all,
wait.
Don't mix things because as much as like I would say personally, like weed and like a couple of beers, you're probably okay. But if you're already drunk and then somebody goes, "Hey, you guys want to take some shrooms or smoke some weed?" Probably is not a good idea because you will have too much and you will get really sick, and it sucks. Believe me.
But in LA, the guy just delivered a box to a club. A box of like amazing stuff to a club, and it's like, the fuck, he just delivered like this box filled with all these random like edibles and like bud and stuff. It's like, why would you deliver that to a club? That's insane. Amazing. Like, what the hell?
He turns up in a huge Ford GT as well, didn't he? It was like the most conspicuous car.
He looked like Hitman.
Yeah,
that's what he looked like. At least in my delirious drunken haze, that's what he looked like to me. Hitman was delivering me the ultra, the ultra spliff.
Yeah. That's where the show the footage thing came from. That's what the result of that.
I was so sick
because you were already drunk anyway. And that was where I was just because I remember actually at the time, like you were saying earlier on about Smith was saying how I think I'm immune. Like, I mean, I remember at the time Trott was just like, just not really doing anything. I was like, oh, weird. Like you just fucking honked the fucking thing. You definitely should be feeling something. And I was like, maybe you drank too much, and that's probably it. Later on, I think it hit you hard. In a big way. You're like, yeah, it hit me in a big way. I don't think we went. Wait,
the ride
isn't that why we didn't go to?
Trott was like, I'm not going to make it back. I'm not going to make it back. I'm like, you're all right, mate. You're okay.
I went to E3 on my own because of that. I think that's when I went to E3 on my own.
You did. Yeah, well, we were so ill. We didn't go to E3.
I was like, one of us has to go. I'll go. I'll do it. That's fine.
So I can't remember. I mean, it's a great story. Like, it's a fucking hilarious story, really.
Yeah.
But like, basically, the whole reason we were in LA, like for that particular thing, the reason we'd had this really nice hotel they put us in and all this other shit is because Xbox wanted us to go to their show to reveal the Xbox One X or something like that, right? And they were like, they want to get all these creators in. They're like, guys, we're going to put you up in a thing tomorrow morning. It was like not even that early. I think it was about 10:30, 11 or something like that. They were like, tomorrow, get on the bus. We'll take you to the place. We're going to show you the new console. And like, basically, we just want you guys to like enjoy it. Like maybe make a video about it. You know, that kind of thing. Like, it's quite a nice thing they do. Like, all they're really asking for us to do is talk about the console. And they put us up in a hotel for like 3 days. They took us out partying. But anyway, the night before we were meant to do this one obligation that we had, we all got really fucked up. And yeah, like Trott says, so I called up this place because, quite frankly, I prefer weed to drinking. That like in general for me. That
I was going to say, I think you two would have made it if you didn't drink.
If we didn't
the drink made us miss that night, or made.
And I was in LA, and I'd managed to get a medical card from somewhere. From a website I found. I called up this place and I was like, hey, yes, I've got back pain. Can you send me this? And I paid like $10 and then you get like it was ridiculous. This is back when you couldn't get it recreationally. Anyway, so I was like, right, I got this card. I'm going to order some of like the best Californian stuff. And I rang up this guy called the Red Baron. And I was like, hi. And he was like, hello, mate. And I'm like, you're English. And he's like, you're English too. And I'm like, all right. And then basically I had this long conversation with him, and he's like, yeah, basically I used to like grow and deal in the UK, but then I just got sick of like, you know, the danger of like getting arrested and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, fair play. It's like, I'm sure. And he's like, but then I moved out here and started my own business. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. And he's like, anyway, what do you want, mate? And I was like, I don't know. Like, there's so much choice. He's like, let me make you a little like little selection box, mate. And I'm like, quality. And he's like,
quite the box.
And I was like, one thing I was quite interested in, because I was just going to buy some pre-rolls again, and I was like, there's this thing here called the torpedo. And he's like, oh yeah, you're interested in that, are you, mate? And I'm like, yeah. Basically what it was, it's like this giant fucking fucking pre-rolled thing, right? Of like the top shelf bud, freshly ground, but then the paper was infused with like a weed like oil, right? And then the top of it was like sprinkled with like luxury like crumble like weed. Like, it was like just
wasn't
weed
the gold flakes
weed.
on one of them?
That was another time. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, that was Stoner Rob's one. Yeah,
that was
Stoner Rob's gold leaf. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, mate, I'll do it for you fresh just before I come. And I was like, all right. Any chance you can deliver it to this bar we're at with all these game like people, and like so everyone's getting shit faced in this giant bar. Like we're all like, it's free drinks and like everyone's having a great time.
It's an E3 tradition to go to this bar with like this rodeo thing, and all the networking goes on at this place. Yeah,
exactly. And you see like all of the people you like work with and stuff. It's really fun. It was a really, really good time. So we're there having like a bunch of like, I think we were drinking margaritas mainly, and so we're drinking margaritas.
I was already really drunk.
This guy turns up with this fucking selection box, and he's like in this like big like Ford GT something or another. It looks insane. And I'm like, oh mate, do you want to like? I'm already pissed out. I'm like, we're all pretty drunk at this point. And I'm like, do you want to join us for a beer? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we like sat outside, and I got the fucking Giga cone out, the torpedo, in the car, like in the outside area, right? And I'm like, wow. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like. He's like, do you want to share? I was like, do you want a bit? He's like, yeah, all right. And so I get this giant fucking cone out with this bloke, the Red Baron I've just met. And I light it up and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then like a couple of other people are with us from like other YouTubers and things like that. And I'm like, you want some of this? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, be careful. It's like the craziest thing in the world. Chris Trott comes out. Hey, what's going on out here? And I'm like, all right, Trott. And I'm like, yeah, we just got this like Giga cone off this dude. And he's like, oh, let's try some. And then he like gets like, and I'm like, mate, be careful. And then what Ross was saying, like, yeah, Ross was like, oh, be careful. This is going to be pretty strong.
I was like, yeah, just go easy. We've already drank shitloads because I think it was somebody was handing out fucking Jaeger bombs like left, right, center. Benny,
yeah. Benny we were drinking like, tall Jaeger bombs as well, weren't we? Like,
fucking hell.
Anyway, you know what happened then? We all got pretty messed up, and then we get back, and Trott's out. Like, we get back in the taxi. Trott sits outside for a bit, and I'm like, I feel quite bad because obviously I'm the person that's bought this, and he's had it, and I'm like, you're all right. Ross has gone off for some more drinks with fucking Benny.
Oh, I did
right?
with Benny. Yeah. I continued until late, until even later. So I was actually awake later than you guys, but I did manage to wake up just enough to get up and go. So there is I'll give everyone the vlog title because if you want to find the kind of the other context around it, it's called "We Got Drunk in LA." We did. The RV road trip number 5. So and that was from 2017. So there you go.
Yeah. A few years ago.
So there's a couple more details. So basically, Trott's like, I'm so drunk. He's thrown up in the fountain in front of this hotel. He's like, I'm so drunk. I don't think they'll let me in the hotel. And I'm like, you know what? There's a real risk of that right now. You're right. I think if anyone sees you, they're going to be like, that dude cannot come through here. So I'm like, right, what we're going to do, I'm going to go in. I'm going to check in the hotel foyer. I'm going to see if any of the staff are watching. Then I'm going to take you, run you to the lift, and then we're going to get you up to your room, okay? All you've got to do is not be sick in that time. And you're like, he's like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. And I'm like, right, here we go. So I go pick him up, get him through the foyer, this really nice West Hollywood hotel, get him through the foyer, get him into the fucking lift, go up to the top floor, right? And then I'm like really fucked up at this point as well. I think I see Ross like having like old fashions you were drinking in the bar with Benny at that
Some old fashions at the bar with the nice little orange peel on there,
Yeah, at like 3 a.m. And so they're having old fashions.
Hey, mate.
Into his room, the door closes behind him. We've got these like key cards that we swipe in. Get shot in. I put him on the bed. I literally put him in the recovery position because I'm like, dude, I need to sleep. Like, I'm shutting down at this point. It's like, dude, I'm so fucked up. I need to go to bed, right? And so
were you stuck outside his room,
recovery
right?
position. That comes later.
Okay, go.
I put him in the recovery position, right? I put a fucking towel out for him and all this sort of stuff. And then somehow, I don't know how, I end up at the base of the bed. Right, just sat on the floor against the base of the bed, and this is trotting before the real fucking. That was Mary. I remember Mary. Anyway, this is the bar we were in. If you're watching the video, but yeah, like I'm at the end of the bed, right? I just fall asleep. I like have the classic thing of like,
just knocked out.
where am I? And I'm like, well, I'm still at the base of the bed. I turn around, Trott's like, fucked. Like, oh no, Trott's moved to the bathroom at this point, and he's just sleeping in the bathroom. Oh, that's me on the fucking floor.
There's a video of Smith riding a mechanical rodeo bull. He's just really slinking around there. Wow.
I wake up at about 5 a.m., right, feeling awful. I've been asleep for about 2 hours, sat upright at the base of Trott's bed like a fucking dog, right? He's somehow fallen out of bed, gone into the bathroom, and fallen asleep in the bathroom, I think, where he's just made a complete mess of it. And I'm like, God, I need to piss so badly. Right, fuck this. Trott's fine. He's not died. I'm going to bed. I stand up, really needing a piss. Open the door, go across the hallway to my room. The door closes behind me. I realize I've left my key in Trott's room, and I am desperate to urinate, right? 5 a.m. comes around. I'm banging on the fucking door at 5 a.m. Trott's like, completely gone. Like he's like deepest sleep of his life. Trott, I need you to open the door. I'm going to piss myself. Trott. Eventually, Trott gets up, lets me and I get in. I get to bed, pass out. Right, 11 a.m. rolls around, and Ross is there, like, messaging us, like, guys, are either of you coming down right now? And I'm like, honestly, dude, I'm going to vomit if I leave this bed. And Trott's like, I can't, and that's it. And so Ross covers us, goes off to this fucking event, the one thing we were contracted to do, whilst me and Trott stay in bed for the whole day because we're so fucking fucked up that we can't get out of bed. I actually ended up having a lobster sandwich and watched NASCAR that day. It was actually pretty great. But yeah,
nice.
Here's Ross going... For videos only.
Images of me the day after. Morning. After a few hours, really.
Tanking the event.
A few hours later.
God. I could not even stand up until late afternoon. So far.
We say how jarring it is seeing images of people in crowds and groups right now. It's quite strange.
Right.
I can't watch...
It's from 2017, so...
I can't watch The Boys without thinking about it because, like, I'm on an episode where there's this huge arena full of people. I'm like, this would be so unsafe. I thought about it watching The New Mandalorian. It's like, how did they film this? They're all touching each other. It's skewed our perspective on watching things for sure. But hilarious time in LA.
That was the RV trip. That was the tail end of the RV trip.
That was
the same day that we had that party. I think we were at dropping off the RV in the morning.
That's right.
I remember I got a morning Pizza Hut.
You're right.
See in the video.
Yeah.
A little personal pizza for breakfast. I was like, fuck it.
You'd had old fashioned for breakfast already.
Well, that was the evening to follow. This was Trott. Yeah, there's some images of now Trott waking up the day after. Because then it spurred on people to saying, show the footage of him vomiting. But it's like, who needs this?
Both of us are like,
you get the impression it was messy. It was a messy night, but it was good.
So
it was good fun. It was the Xbox side's really good laugh.
Checking the toilet.
Holy shit! Yeah, that was 2017, best year of our lives. 2020, worst year of our lives. Woo-hoo!
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, the vlogs are not like that. Unfortunately,
we can look fondly back on those vlogs of when we were freely able to travel the world and do what we wanted.
Yeah, that was the same year that we did the helicopter thing with Bradley as well. I think.
Man, what a year!
I think so, yeah.
Jesus.
Like the helicopter trip and the RV trip are two of my favorites, definitely. And
17, man.
Man. Yeah. So hopefully more of those next year. Maybe the year after.
Yeah.
2 years, I reckon.
Itself.
Yeah. 2022, our year. Not 2020 anymore.
Yeah, hopefully.
2020 is not our year anymore. Not anyone's year.
It's not. We did say it was our year. In fact, I think that video's unlisted because we're just like, this is just depressing to watch about. Yeah.
But we make do. We adapt. We grow. And actually,
like Twitch has come in there to save the day, and I think that it's good that we have those multiple
and all the
platforms to
people
work on.
Yeah,
well, that's it exactly. Yeah, so
I mean, not to mention the Patreon supporters that have made this podcast possible every 2 weeks for God knows how long now.
Spot on.
Oh, there it is. Patreon.com.
There it is if you're watching.
Hat Films. Please check it out. Thank you for your support. For keeping this podcast going. You're allowing us to talk every couple of weeks about our crazy trips, what we've done and our thoughts on them. But yeah, thank you.
Because we ultimately, just to put a bit of context on that video, we didn't actually mention a lot of the other stuff in here. I think it's some people find it quite kind of, I don't know, I guess they didn't really want to talk about drugs or weed or whatever. So we didn't really mention it too much. But
yeah,
I think people got
we were
the people who
conscious
knew.
of-
They knew.
Yeah, Aaron.
Well, like all the
Like
sunglasses.
cooking in the RV. Yeah, all the
People on the
whole
whole
sunglasses indoors.
Again, that's another
Weird,
time
that.
where I mixed weed and
Yeah.
alcohol, and I just every time I moved my head, it felt like I was ghosting.
Too much. Yeah.
And everything was catching up, and I was trying to keep it together. It's like, I know it's my go next. I've got to take over from Ross in a minute. Like, he's just cut the potatoes.
Gotta
I've
cook.
got to do
I'm
the
just-
steak bit. I've got to do the steak bit on camera as well. Fucking hell, here we go.
Yeah.
The bits in that video where you just hear me, I think there's a couple of bits where
Laughing.
like Ross is saying something, and me and Trott just howl with laughter at something he says.
Yeah.
Like something to do with like, you might want to get a pan, and then like both of us just like,
Yeah,
like, it's like
pan.
you can tell, like.
Yeah. The things that aren't normally funny were funnier. And that's
Really
that's just
cool.
the way it
Also,
is.
I
That's all
completely
right.
blame the weed for that mashed potato. Nothing to do with me. Thank you very much.
So much water. The
watery
watery, the
mashed
worst
potatoes.
kind of like liquidy mashed potato.
Oh,
I've
the skin
seen.
on really helped as well, and the skin on.
Skin on helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very bold choice for sweet potato, and there you go. We didn't eat that one, but that's fine.
Jesus.
The steaks were alright. We had the steaks.
Yeah, they were nice.
That worked
There
out.
was
They
something
were
else with
very
it as
nice.
well. It wasn't just broccoli.
Load of broccoli. Tenderstone was it? Or, yeah, can't remember.
We did all right
But
considering
we had
cooked that in the
a
RV.
meal. Yeah.
We smoked
Yeah.
the shit out of that RV though. That was smoky in there. 'Cause
Yeah, we had that
grilled
aircon thing
steak.
just blasting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What an RV. What
Yeah.
trip. Oregon.
Yeah,
That was
that's
really
good.
nice there.
yeah, let's hope there's some part of Oregon left after all the forest fires and riots.
I know. It was
Please,
so tragic.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
mentioning names that we've like. Was it what's it called? I completely lost the name of where
Medford.
it was near where we stayed. Medford, yeah, because it was near there where
Well,
there were a load of
Ashland,
fires recently.
Ashland. I think it's mainly
Which is a shame.
yeah, the fires is just like jeez, like Ashland was one of my favorite towns we've ever been to. I love that place.
Yeah,
It's so
honestly,
cool.
most beautiful like part of America. I think it's so
Yeah.
nice.
It was so nice.
Or any of the national parks. To be fair, it was great
Yeah.
to tour through them where we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was funny trip.
Quite the trip. We all looked so
That's
different
quite
back
funny.
then.
Best bit of the RV trip was Trott getting in bed with his head crushed at an angle, just saying,
Yeah.
"This is fine."
Literally, that was the only other option.
Someone's got to
Then we
sleep
realised-
in it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna
I
be
realized you
me.
could make like a little hole to put like a fucking feet through.
Oh,
Eventually
yeah.
we were
Oh,
like,
through
right,
the yeah, that was it. Through the yeah.
Well, there's a will, there's a way. Amazing. I want to go
Oh, shit,
back and
jeez,
watch
yeah.
all those now.
Yeah,
watch it
it's good. I find it good
knowing.
for inspiring new content as well. So it's
think
worth
so.
doing it.
Gee, the poop pipe. I mean, so many stories.
The
We're
poop
going to
pipe,
have
yeah.
to revisit these at another day, I think. Because we've
I think so.
gone over our
Well,
hour.
we could always do a commentary. We could always do like a director's commentary over them, couldn't we? And release
We could do a
those.
stream.
Like us talking
True.
about-
Yeah, we could do like a stream, a rewatching
Yeah.
stream or something.
Would you
I've been
watch that?
watching. Louis Theroux's released a couple of things recently where he like retrospectively looks back at like some of the trips and stuff he did.
Yeah, I've
and
seen that, yeah.
it's actually quite fun, quite engaging. It's just like, oh, it's quite
Okay.
cool to get that like bit of
We should
background.
do that to make it feel
Yeah,
like
it gives
we're
some
on
aspect
holiday.
on how he
Yeah.
went about things and certain characters that they probably didn't perceive.
And the shit
they
that,
perceived differently on screen.
yeah.
Mm.
And we can always give little insights like this. Well, that's quite a big
Yeah.
insight actually about. No, we.
Well,
will
it
really
explains.
fucking
Yeah,
Um,
explains a few things. Yeah.
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that at some point. That's a good
Yeah.
idea. Don't always have
Yeah,
to play
why not?
games, do we? So check out
Yeah.
twitch.tv/hatfilms if you're listening.
Yeah.
For that. And also our Hat Gaming YouTube channel is doing really well. Very happy with that recently.
Yeah.
We've got so much good stuff on there that Craig has diligently been editing together.
Amazing.
Some of our best gaming content in a long time, I think. Just because there's so much to work with. Ultimately, we've been
Yeah, I
working
mean,
with-
because it was a scary move, really, kind of transferring
Yeah.
over to another channel, because that's a huge move, really, like to do that. And now that it's kind of, at least on a financial level, they are actually now weighed in the other way, which is great for us.
Yeah.
Especially during this current
it was scary.
situation. So
Yeah.
if you want to watch or catch up on our previous gaming stuff, it's now on that new channel, All Gaming, and it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, Hat Gaming. Go check it out. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are good with the musics, like Josh Cook, please email your fingals to hatchat@hat-films.com. I want to hear them. I want to play them at the start of the podcast and at the end. So please send them in. I look forward to hearing them.
Just need to fingerless hard.
And fingerless hard and quickly. And we'll join you all.
Quick, finger me.
Finger me hard.
It's the only way. Finger me quick. The demons are coming.
Sounds great.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time talking about more stuff.
Yep.
Quick update. Mm-hmm. Last time we said that the elections would be over. They're not. So
they're
maybe
not fully
in the
over.
next
Not fully.
one, they will be fully over. We'll see.
With all the other drama that drama sprinkles on top.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, have a good 2 weeks. Stay safe. Stay frosty.
Indeed.
And everything in moderation, right? Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, be safe.
All right. Be safe, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Indeed.